Tonight, 500 miles to immortality. And if it was only as simple as that. Roger Penske knows the push and the perils. Can the most successful owner in the history of the sport rewrite the record books again? The formula for success 50 years ago led to iconic wins from names like Clark, Hill, and Andretti. Just as Montoya did last year, could Formula One lead two others down the same path? And the whine of the engines, second only to the whine of Napa, California. In the end, Indy 500 winning car owner Jimmy Vasser has learned to manage both. This year's ultimate test of man versus machine has only just begun. Right now on Trackside 6.
Live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and WRTV 6 Sports, this is Trackside 6.
So quiet you could watch a film at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In fact, that's exactly what will happen tonight. A screening of the 1969 movie Winning, starring the late, great Paul Newman, an event hosted by the Indy Film Fest. Day first, live tonight, Trackside 6. On this Trackside 6 special, we welcome you in. Hope you've had a great week because it's 4 days down and a very crazy weekend to come. Lights, camera, and action. Plenty of it this weekend. Brad Brown joins us with a look back at the last 4 days as we look ahead to Fast Friday tomorrow. Qualifying this weekend, a lot of action out on that track so far.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Going to be fun on Friday when they up the boost, up the speeds here as well. Busy day at the track today. Let's take a look at some of Thursday's practice action and get a look at the long line of traffic. They head down to the backstretch. 10 or 12 along at one point. Teams getting one last chance to run with race setups. Most will work on qualifying trim Friday. More than 2,500 laps among the field today. A tick over 5,000 laps in Wednesday and Thursday combined. Let's take a look at the top laps of the week. Andretti Autosport with the top three. In fact, the only ones over 228 miles an hour. Gabby Chavez had the fastest today. Will Power's fast lap was today as well, the best this week for Chevy, and they'll increase the boost on Friday. Speeds are likely to go over 230 miles an hour. Dave?
You know, as the Speedway celebrates its 100th Indy 500, Roger Penske is celebrating his own anniversary, 50th year in racing. And to that end, the Speedway Museum is featuring several of his Indy 500 winning cars from 72, 79, 81 to 85, and even more recent vintage. It seems Penske's place is definitely victory lane at Indy. And here's the thing, Roger has so many winners, they're literally spread throughout the country, including Scottsdale, Arizona. And tonight we find out that at 79 years of age, well, RP is still wheeling and dealing in so many ways.
Get down to business here. They're going green next time by 10-4. Be nice and smooth here. Clear by 5-6, clear by 7.
Roger Penske isn't exactly all talk. Leads an organization with over 5 decades of history, with more achievements than any other in the sport, and with a one-of-a-kind museum in Scottsdale, Arizona.
This is fabulous.
Called the Penske Racing Museum. A far cry from when Martha Penske stood as her husband Jay took a young Roger to his first Indy 500 in 1951.
You ever wonder, if that doesn't happen, does any of this happen?
Well, I guess, you know, it's like any other boy when he's 14 years old and your dad is trying to take you to do something to keep you out of trouble. I guess he took me to Indianapolis, and quite honestly, I got into trouble, didn't I? Well,
It was the reverse.
Yeah.
Look when it started.
And Roger was hooked. But first as a driver, and a successful one. He had some 40 victories at the most famous tracks in the U.S. and named the North American Driver of the Year in 1962. But 3 years later, he was forced to turn down an offer to test a Clint Bronner car at Indianapolis, while he pursued another goal of owning a car dealership in Philadelphia.
more important was the fact my dad was retired at that point, and I needed $50,000 to help, you know, buy the dealership. And I remember going to Pittsburgh with him. We drove to Pittsburgh, and he took that money out of his savings account. He said, look, if we lose it, I'll go back to work. So I had a pretty, that was a time in my life where I had to realize I was committed to what I had to do, so there was no more racing.
You don't look back and regret that decision at all?
No, I think that Mario Andretti, who took the test and said to me, he's had a great career. There's no question. And
You're saying it worked out well for both of you then?
I would say that both of us ended up in the right spot.
The cars look
pretty much
The museum personifies the Penske pursuit. From the speedway bricks leading to the two-story showroom to a treasure trove inside, including the 1979 IROC Camaro that Mario drove and a white Porsche RSR driven by Mark Donohue.
You know, this is an amazing car. This was the first car in IROC.
Yeah.
It was the one that won the first race. And guess what? A couple of weeks ago at Amelia Island, a car just like that went for $2.5 million. So this might be take care of my grandkids for a while if I sell that. So pretty special car.
Hang on to that.
Co-developed.
He's also hanging on to this gallery, gushing with Indy winners and others.
This is the car, the PC5.
Like Tom Sneva's 200-mile-an-hour record breaker from 1977 and this Rick Mears machine from 1982.
This is one of my favorite car. This was the one that really changed the world with the under tray. This was the one that finished second, unfortunately, to Gordon Johncock. But guess what? We went to Pocono and we blew him off. So it's got a special place, you know, in my life for sure.
The only thing stock in this haul comes from his stock cars.
These Penske cars were something.
These rocket ships come from the day when championships were homemade.
We had the benefit, you know, for many years of building our own cars, and we just didn't buy something off the shelf.
Is it harder now because everyone essentially has the same equipment?
Well, there's no question. You start with the same 7-iron. It just depends how you hold it and how you swing it, I guess, but and who's swinging it.
But Penske knew early Indy wasn't a hole-in-one. He first arrived as a car owner in 1969.
We realized it was going to take a complete team effort, and the job probably wouldn't be done for at least 3 years.
In fact, it was his fourth 500 when he won with the late Mark Donohue.
When you bring on Mark Donohue, how key is that to the growth?
He was fully dedicated. He was an engineer from Brown University. He wanted to race. He was technically very savvy. And we just came together as almost like a family.
Do you feel like you have a good eye for talent in racing? And you think of the drivers that have driven for him, my goodness. It's a who's who.
Well, I think that, you know, drivers make teams, teams make drivers.
Rick Mears,
His winning drivers include Rick Mears, Bobby Unser, Danny Sullivan, Al Unser, Emerson Fittipaldi, Al Unser Jr., Helio Castroneves, Gilles de Ferran, Sam Hornish Jr., and Juan Pablo Montoya, the owner who took a chance 50 years ago to become the winningest owner in sports history.
What was plan B if that didn't work out?
Well, I was really, plan A was that I was a Chevy dealer.
So racing was plan B.
I saw racing as something that I love to do myself. I saw it as a way to build our brand. And there's no question as we built the team and we've seen it integrate within the company, you know, for so many years, it's been a real asset. And quite honestly, I think it's been a competitive advantage for us.
Roger takes his cars out for an occasional spin.
This was the pace car for 72 when Mark Donohue won the race. This might be the car I need to drive back and forth from the hotel this year. Maybe it'd be my good luck charm.
And a chance to check up on his business.
Maserati and Ferrari, Land Rover, BMW and Mini.
You and Porsche go back a while, don't you?
Well, we race Porsches. I race Porsche Spyders. We've got Audi, Jag, we have Bentley, we have Rolls-Royce, we got Bugatti.
In the Ferrari dealership, can you get me a deal?
I can get you a deal for sure. You're from Indianapolis,
I am
so
from
we can
Indianapolis.
get you one.
Fantastic. This is what I like to hear.
We tour his nearly 60-acre super complex packed with 5,000 cars.
Look at this. Paparazzi.
Morning.
That's great. Morning.
Morning.
Just last year, his 340 franchises around the country sold 430,000 new and used cars.
When you started that one dealership, now look at all this. Do you ever think this could happen?
Well, in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have believed it.
Where does that come from,
Well, I
Roger?
think that really, when I think about it, it's, my dad told me one thing, as you grow up, don't worry about yourself, you know, do what's best for the company, and you'll succeed.
29, good luck.
The success is far from over. His biggest win is always the next one in everything he does.
Given the museum, your success on the track, off the track. What will your dad say now?
Well, I think when he sees what we've done here, I've tried to provide an environment where people can fail in some cases and also cases where they can succeed. And I think that's the kind of person he was. He dealt with integrity. He was a very hard worker, and he supported his family. And that's what I hope he feels I'm doing today.
"16 Indy winners, but the year he remembers the most, 1995, the year they didn't make the Indy 500. Back after this.
Still to come, the history of the Indianapolis 500 is filled with the history of Formula One. Michael Grady has the story of two young guns who aim to add to that lore. Plus,
So here's to the 100th Indy 500. Thanks so much for this. Great day.
It's been 3 years since Jimmy Vasser, as a car owner, sipped milk in Victory Lane at the Speedway. These days, he's also sipping wine. That story from Napa, California, coming up on Trackside 6. We're back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pretty cool. Some of the suite holders behind me are getting some pace car rides here tonight. Pretty cool. Also pretty cool, the fact the movie Winning is playing on the Pagoda Plaza side of the Speedway, and that's where we find our Michael Grady. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Dave. Yes, guess what? 5 rookies are competing in this year's Indy 500. One of them grew up watching the race in Europe, and another has never seen an Indy 500 before. Yes, his first experience with the race will be as a competitor later this month. Yes, make way for the Formula One guys. It's tough enough preparing for the greatest spectacle in racing as a rookie, and 5 drivers have that distinction this year. But imagine being a rookie and preparing for the 100th running of the Indy 500 with very little experience on ovals. That's the challenge that awaits Alexander Rossi and Max Chilton, 2 drivers with Formula One backgrounds who are itching to take advantage of their shot at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I am excited, I am nervous, I am a lot of things, and I think that once I get on track for the first time, it'll become a bit of a more known thing for me, and a lot of questions will be answered.
It's going to be weird, because to be really honest, I've never watched a 500 on TV. I've never been there. So my first 500 experience is going to be behind the wheel doing 230 miles an hour.
Quite the undertaking for these 2 drivers, but the path ahead isn't unprecedented. Several drivers have had success in Formula One and with the 500. Emerson Fittipaldi won F1 titles in 1972 and 1974 and won the 500 in 89 and 93. Mario Andretti did it in reverse, winning his lone Indy 500 in 69 before winning an F1 title in 1978. Believe it or not, the most notable difference between F1 and IndyCar? The teamwork.
They're so willing to help, and I think where I'm from, teammates, yes, they're there to sort of help, but only by you looking at their data. They're not going to go, oh, by the way, when it rains you want to do this and do that. Over here, Dario's helping me out, but he's not my teammate. But my actual teammates, they're still telling me just as much information, and at the end of the day, we are still rivals. So it's just a different way of approaching it.
He's clearly got talent, and as I say, so far so good. He's a rookie, he makes mistakes, but he's always thinking about how to improve it. So, it's exciting to be a part of that.
And for Chilton and Rossi, they're just excited to be a part of history.
I mean, obviously it being the 100th running is something spectacular, and it'll take what is already what I understand to know is a massive show and make it even bigger. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the whole experience. It's the race I'm looking forward to the most this year, and I really just can't wait to be able to say that I have taken part in it.
It's going to be a really amazing month of May, hopefully, and I'm not going to try and set any records, but I just want to make sure that we can, keep the car going in the right direction, and you can come away with some surprising results at Indy.
coming up, whether it's the whine of an IndyCar engine or making wine in Napa Valley, former IndyCar driver Jimmy Vasser is a champion at both. Day first with an exclusive visit to his world-class vineyard in Northern California. Plus, a look ahead to Fast Friday, when this Trackside 6 special continues.
Sunset at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A gorgeous way to wrap up the day here at the track. You know, what didn't happen to Jimmy Vasser as a driver happened to him as a car owner. So you could say winning Indy was worth the wait. Not unlike a fine wine made in Napa, California. And for Jimmy, it's a marriage that is truly vintage Vasser.
3
When Jimmy Vasser isn't in the middle of a noisy pit road, he's nestled in the heart of Napa Valley, where the fog rolls in, so do fans of his vineyard, V12, where little Frank Zappa meets Jimmy's formerly fast lifestyle, not to mention a baby Borg trophy and other trophies filled with used corks.
It sounds like it started off kind of as a hobby, kind of you want to dabble in it, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
you're like all in.
Well, you know, and everybody that knows me knows that I'm a fair consumer as well. So,
maker.
It's run by Jimmy and his sister Vicky, as wine tastings are the norm.
Goes good with Cheerios.
Cheerios.
Or Wheaties.
The V stands for Vasser. The number 12 stands for his championship-winning car number.
And then also the V12 engine. The adjectives used to describe wine, you know, smooth, powerful, a lot of moving parts, complex. So there's that tie-in with V12 and the engine.
V12 bottles, Chardonnays, Cabs, Specials, and world-class reserves.
He was obviously a pretty good race car driver.
Yeah.
Is he as good a winemaker as he is?
I mean,
Is he?
he's got attention to detail.
Well, let's be clear. I'm not the winemaker. I'm a vintner. I guess that's the correct term. The vintner.
Your name's on it.
Yeah.
Or the V is. Anyway.
Yeah. It's a bigger endeavor than I originally had thought.
But the vineyard is not in name only. Jimmy's eyes go from grape to glass and every step in between.
You know, I want the wine to be good, and it needs to be better. And
You're as competitive with this as you would be out on a race.
Absolutely. I mean, competitive spirit, I think it goes with everything.
As Jimmy Vasser lines up,
It definitely went with his IndyCar career, which saw him win 10 times, including the US 500 during the 1996 split of open-wheel racing. But it was always the desire to win more.
Racing career. Did you get everything out of it you would have liked?
No. You know, looking back, I think I could have been better if I was a little more serious about maybe my fitness and you know, like I said earlier about, you know, how the correlations of the wines, the racer's mentality is it's almost never good enough.
It continued as a car owner a few years ago when he was looking for a driver in 2013 and hired a free agent in Tony Kanaan.
You know, when he came available, I thought, you know, it was like I was walking through Goodwill or the Salvation Army, and all of a sudden there's Tony Kanaan on the shelf, you know, for a bargain price. You know, it's like, well,
Can I get two of these?
We're going to take him, you know.
TK has won the 2013.
It paid off for both. Kanaan and KB Racing won the Indy 500.
We won the Indy 500, and everybody kind of on the stand were looking at each other like, did this just happen?
Now what?
And I was the first one to say, I know what, I'm heading that way, you know. I'm heading down to Victory Circle, and got there about the same time Tony did, and I just jumped on the car, and I drove into Victory Circle with Tony, but, you know, maybe in a weird way, that was my thing to drive into Victory Circle at Indianapolis.
By the way, he's still driving.
Got the old original flathead. I was gonna say, yeah.
These days, it's the 1947 Willys Jeep, helping keep an eye on his 45-acre property.
So we've got two distinct views. From this side of the property is obviously the Napa Valley and the San Francisco side. And then this whole side is the Soda Canyon side, which is kind of more of a European look to it. If you got the knock right, you know, then you can come in.
Chance to check up on construction of his speakeasy, decorated with pieces reclaimed from the original headquarters of AAA in San Francisco.
And a nod to the automobile industry, you know, by kind of recreating the lobby a bit with the pieces from the original AAA headquarters. We don't pick second growth.
Right. Or taste testing the grapes just below it. Sweet. At a vineyard, it never ends.
You know, it's like they say in racing, right? Speed costs money. How fast do you want to go? Right.
The drive to succeed still very much remains. The only things sour in these parts come from the lemon trees on the property. Call it a picture-perfect transition. These days, it's the Vasser way.
This thing could be world class by the time it's all said and done.
It better be. You know, you know. I think the wines are already world class, and we're working hard to all make them better. And you know, here we are, you know, looking down on Napa Valley, and with my hillside vineyard.
The fog's rolling in.
Yeah,
It's just picturesque.
Couldn't be much better.
Still to come, the pressure begins to mount as qualifying weekend approaches. A look ahead to one of the most important weekends on the IndyCar calendar when Trackside 6 continues.
Fast Friday practice starts at noon and the speeds go up.
Michael and I are going to hop in one of these pace cars. Is
Get
that okay? Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you at the track.